If you are a perfectionist and you want to overcome that perfectionism, then this video is for you. I'm going to share with you the 3 steps that you need to take to go from that place of perfectionism that you have right now to being in a place where you are happier, healthier, and yes, actually more successful. Because the reality is, perfectionism is not helping you. Perfectionism is holding you back. I'm Jonathan Butler, and I'm a therapist, and I help people every day to become less anxious, more confident, and more successful. And the reality is this, is that you can never achieve your full potential while you're living in fear. You can only achieve your full potential when you are living in potential, when you are living in opportunity. So I can show you how you get from that place of needing to try and be perfect, being disappointed with yourself, disappointed with others, to being a really high achiever who's happier, healthier, and frankly a better person for your friends and family, colleagues to be around. So if you get value out of this video, please do like, comment and subscribe so I can share this value with as many other people as possible. So what are those 3 steps that you need to take to overcome your perfectionism, be happier, healthier, more successful? And the first step is simply realization. And if you're watching this video, you've probably already had that realization, or you're moving towards that realization. It's the realization, the recognition that perfectionism is a problem, that perfectionism is causing you issues in your life, that it's getting in your way. Now, some people only get to this point when something really, really happens. So you find yourself excessively procrastinating, taking too much time to do things, having overwhelming anxiety. Maybe, and often this happens with perfectionists, you end up in some kind of depression, possibly even some kind of physical illness. So some people take their time to get to that place, and maybe it's that kind of event, that kind of overwhelm that makes you realize that you need to do something. But even when people get to that stage, often perfectionists struggle to move on because of their need to be perfect, because of their need to succeed. And people fear that if they let go of that perfectionism, they will lose something about themselves. They'll lose their high standards. So let me just be clear on this again. Overcoming your perfectionism doesn't mean letting go of having high standards. You can have high standards, you can be a high achiever, but that is very different from being perfect, because perfectionism stops you achieving your potential. It stops you getting things done. And ultimately, this is the irony of perfectionism. Perfectionists strive to please, strive to be perfect, strive to achieve things. But actually your perfectionism will make you anxious, which will make you procrastinate, avoid. Your perfectionism could well make you ill. There's a high incidence of perfectionists who have high levels of anxiety, of stress, who have breakdowns, who enter into depression. Things that are stopping you achieving your potential. So it's important that you remember this. Losing your need to be a perfectionist will make you more successful, make you happier, healthier, better to be around. So that recognition is really, really key, Now, hopefully you haven't got to the point where you've suffered with some of those things that have really knocked you down, like a burnout, an illness, depression, stress, but you can see in other ways that it is affecting you. But really put that thought in your mind that perfectionism is stopping you being successful. It is not your friend. So that's step 1, is to have that recognition. Have that recognition get into your mind that this is not your friend, and that letting go of your perfectionism is not going to stop you having high standards. You're not losing anything. You are simply gaining, okay, when you let go of this. The second thing that you need to do is to reframe how you think about perfectionism. And the first stage of this is to understand where it comes from, because perfectionism and many other things that people struggle with usually come from our childhood. They usually come from our environment. So I work with people every day to help them understand how to change, we first of all have to understand where the problem comes from. It is engineering. We are the most complex, incredible piece of engineering on the planet as human beings. And like any engineering challenge, you've got to understand the root cause. If something's going wrong, if something isn't working as it should be, why is it? And usually with perfectionism, it is because of the environment that you will have grown up in. Okay, it is childhood issues. Now everybody is different, but usually it boils down to maybe you had parents who were perfectionists, who set incredibly high standards for you, and if you didn't meet those standards, they showed their disapproval. So you always, of course, as a kid, wanted to make your parents happy. So quite often it can come from having those perfectionist, pushy parents, and in certain cultures this is an even stronger trait. So that's one thing it can come from. Another thing it can come from is actually children thinking when there are problems in the family, if they don't get attention from their parents, that being perfect will make them more lovable. Make you more lovable. Being perfect might make you think that you're going to get more attention. So these are all things, because basically when we display these kind of traits, it boils down always to not thinking we're good enough, not thinking we're lovable, not thinking we can have the attention, the recognition that we want, unless we are perfect. And we think that if we are perfect, somehow people will like us more, will give us more attention, will love us more. That's what we come to believe. And of course, through our childhood, through school, maybe through university, maybe early years in work, actually that perfectionism can carry you a long way. You get renowned as being good at what you do, you get good grades. But the problem with perfectionism is when you're in that state, you've got a lot of anxiety, a lot of stress, your body is in an unsustainable state. You are constantly in fight, flight, freeze mode. Your nervous system is in overwhelm, and your immune system becomes weakened, and at some point your body will give out and make you ill and pull you right down and stop you doing pretty much anything that you want to do. So let's understand that these things probably came from your childhood. Need to please, need to have attention, need to feel good enough and loved. Maybe a combination of all of those things. So having recognised where that comes from, we can then start to reframe it. That as an adult, you have to reframe that you don't have to be perfect to be loved, to get attention, to be likeable. In fact, for the people around you, for your loved ones, they'll probably love you more if you are less perfectionistic, okay? If there's such a word as perfectionistic. I'm sure the perfectionists out there will tell me whether I'm right or wrong on that, but really it doesn't matter, because you get my point. You don't need to be perfect. I know I let go of the need to be perfect. So once you understand that, then everything can change. And what I do is, working as a therapist using RTT therapy, using hypnotherapy, I help people understand emotionally, subconsciously, in that part of your mind that still thinks you're that child, that still thinks you need to be perfect, to be liked, loved, accepted, good enough, to help your mind let go of that and to actually realise that you don't have to prove anything to anybody else. People who love you for who you are, and you will achieve more by letting go of this thing. It is not your friend. And really, you know, it's kind of analogous to drugs. People start taking drugs because it makes them feel good, it makes them feel better, but actually the drugs start to take over and start to take control. People think it's their friend, makes them feel good, but it's not. And it's the same with perfectionism. It's not your friend. So that's the second step, is to reframe it. And in hypnosis, I take you back to help you understand where that comes from. And when you understand that, you can let go of it. Your mind will allow you to go, I understand why I felt like that. I understand why I've had this need to be a perfectionist, but actually I can let go of that, because what I really want is to be successful, to be happy, and to be free of that. So that's the second step. It is about reframing how you see that you became a perfectionist and the reasons that you're still holding on to this. Because your mind still thinks you're that child seeking approval, seeking love. When your mind understands that you're no longer that child seeking approval, seeking love, seeking recognition, then your mind will let go and let you live in the present, let you live in the future. The third step is to reprogram your mind. I said earlier we are a complex piece of machinery and coding. Our mind is the most powerful computer there is, and you can reprogram your mind. So when you were a child in your formative years, you took on board this need to be perfect. You took on board these thoughts, these feelings, and these behaviors. But just as you learn those, you can easily relearn them. How do you do that? You relearn that, you reprogram yourself through hypnosis, through repetition, and you do it through remembering what it is that you really want in life. What do you need? What's going to make you happy? Okay, so that third stage is simply about saying to somebody that you need to look to the future and what is it that you want? What are the thoughts you want to have? What are the feelings you want to have? What are the outcomes you want to have? Because that's how our mind works. That is our program of thought. Okay? So if you're a perfectionist and you now are right in the peak of that perfectionism, you have a thought about yourself, which is that you need to be perfect, to be liked, lovable, good enough, for example. That thought leads to the feelings that you have, that you need to prove yourself in every situation, whether it's with parents, partners, bosses, colleagues, that you need to do these things to be perfect, to prove yourself. And those actions which will lead you to overwhelming yourself. So you need to change those and take on board the thoughts that you want to have. So what kind of thoughts would I place with you as a perfectionist? So having helped you understand where it comes from, helping you recognize that you're not that child, you're not in that place, you don't have to be perfect to be liked, to be loved, to be good enough. Helping your mind recognize that actually perfectionism isn't helping you to achieve those heights that you want to get. It's actually pulling you down that ladder. I hope you to have the thoughts that you want to have about yourself. One of those key ones being that losing your perfectionism will make you more successful. Losing your perfectionism will make you happier. It will make you healthier, make you less prone to anxiety, depression. And when you are feeling good about yourself, you are able to peak perform. Because in life, we either live in fear or we live in opportunity. And perfectionism is living in fear. It's fear, you're driven by fear, the fear of not being perfect. And when you live in fear, your ceiling is always here. It's always here. And that makes it even worse for perfectionists because you want your ceiling to be here. But the reality is perfectionism slows you down, stops you. In this world, this digital world, where everything needs to be faster, it's becoming harder and harder for perfectionists. So when you let go of that fear and you move into living in potential, where you believe that you are likable, that you believe that you are lovable, you believe that you are good enough, and you recognize you don't have to be perfect, your bar goes up to here. Your bar goes up to here. You become more productive in your work. You become an easier person to be around. It becomes, you have better leadership skills and capabilities. People like you more. People trust in you more. Your relationships become better. Your sleep becomes better. Your health, well-being becomes better. So, perfectionism is not your friend. It is your enemy. Perfectionism is stopping you from achieving. 3 steps, and if you're here already, The step that I can't really help you with is that you need to have that realization that perfectionism is not your friend. The next two steps that I can really help you with, the methodology that I use can really help you with, is reframing how you think about perfectionism, reframing how you see it, making yourself see that perfectionism is in your past, that it's no longer needed and that it doesn't help you, to seeing it actually gets in your way. And then finally reprogramming your mind to have those thoughts that you want. Someone with high standards, someone who's living in opportunity, someone who's achieving and creating a sustainable platform for success. So I'm Jonathan Butler from My Fit Mind. I hope you've enjoyed this video. Please do subscribe. If you've got any questions, please ask me the questions. I answer all of the questions, and I look forward to seeing you soon. And if you would like to have a personal conversation with me about how I can help you to overcome your perfectionism in just 1 or 2 sessions, then look in the link below. You can book a free discovery call with me and we'll discuss how and if I can help you to do that. Thanks for listening and see you soon.